Hello everyone, and welcome to my Soap Twist 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. The air in the bustling offices of Forrester Creations was thick with the aroma of ambition and lingering perfume samples, a reminder of the company's most recent foray into luxury fragrances. Carter Walton, the steady COO who had risen to extraordinary power through a bold takeover with Hope Logan, sat at his desk, examining contracts. His thoughts, however, regularly returned to Daphne Rose, the enigmatic Parisian perfumer who had swept into their lives like a tornado of beauty and intrigue. Daphne had come months ago, billed as France's best nose, with ideas for a signature smell that might propel Forrester to new heights. Carter had no idea, and no one in his inner circle suspected, that Daphne's appearance was not a coincidence. Steffi Forrester, the exiled co-CEO who desperately wanted to restore her family's legacy, had carefully planted her. Steffi, fueled by a seething animosity toward Hope and Carter for arranging the boardroom coup that deposed the Forresters, had contacted an old acquaintance in Paris. Daphne, with her alluring appeal and great talent, agreed to the plan. Enter Forrester Creations, acquire Carter's trust, seduce him if necessary, and cause friction between him and Hope. The ultimate goal was to shatter their partnership, rendering Carter vulnerable enough to hand over power to the Forresters. It appeared foolproof at first. Daphne's debut coincided exactly with internal difficulties, and her outgoing nature rapidly won over the team. She swung scarves laced with wonderful mixtures, captivating everyone, including Carter. Daphne initially delivered a superb performance. She flirted discreetly during meetings, praised Carter's vision for the company, and positioned herself as a partner in enhancing the scent line. Carter, who had lately been heartbroken by Hope's rekindled emotions for Liam Spencer, was drawn to Daphne's confidence and refinement. Their chats lasted late into the evening, covering not only business but also life, dreams, and the alluring world of fragrances. Daphne told Carter stories about Paris rooftops and hidden gardens, drawing pictures that helped him forget the turbulence of his recent romantic relationships. In the dimly lit design rooms after hours, stray looks quickly developed into touches and touches into kisses. Of course, Hope noticed the shift. Her relationship with Carter had been intense, fueled by similar ambition and a desire to transform Forrester, but fractures had arisen as old emotions rekindled. Seeing Carter enthralled by Daphne sparked jealousy, which Hope initially dismissed as professional admiration. Meanwhile, Steffi watched from the sidelines, confident in her confidence that her strategy was working flawlessly. She met Daphne surreptitiously at the Cliff home to request updates. "He's falling for you," Steffi would say, with shining eyes. "Just keep pushing. Make him see Hope for what she is, divided, unreliable." But plans have a tendency of unraveling in the world of high-stakes fashion and even higher-stakes hearts. Daphne, first driven by loyalty to Steffi and the thrill of the mystery, grew to develop genuine feelings for Carter. His ethics, his zeal for justice within the corporation, and the way he looked at her, as if she were more than a tool in a game, eroded her resolve. Guilt crept into quiet moments. She didn't tell anyone, including Steffi, for fear of repercussions. Instead, she drew back slightly, creating space that perplexed Carter. He chased her more fervently, certain she was the new beginning he required after years of longing for unattainable women. As the weeks grew into months, the relationship intensified. Carter and Daphne enjoyed private dinners, walks along the California coast, and passionate nights that blurred the distinction between scheme and reality. Daphne's perfume line debuted effectively, solidifying her position at Forrester and giving Steffi hope that the denouement was approaching. Whispers spread. Carter was captivated, Hope was preoccupied, and the power dynamic was unstable. However, Daphne's internal conflict grew. She dreaded the day Carter discovered the truth, picturing his treachery as a shattered vial of precious essence, irreversible. The turning point occurred suddenly, as these disclosures frequently do. It was an ordinary afternoon at Forrester Creations. Carter was in a meeting with Ridge Forrester, who had reluctantly returned to design work despite family issues. Ridge, ever the father, pressed Carter about his personal life, noticing a difference in his friend's manner. "You've got that glow, man," Ridge teased. "Is it the French beauty?" Carter asked, acknowledging his growing affections for Daphne. Katie Logan, who had been vigilant and protective of Carter from their previous romance, had been piecing together information without their knowledge. Katie had overheard fragments of conversations, Daphne on the phone with Steffi, vague mentions of the plan, and approached Zend Forrester Dominguez, who revealed facts out of exasperation. Katie contemplated her next move after learning the truth. She cared greatly about Carter and could not tolerate the thought of him being exploited. One evening, as Carter worked late, Katie entered his office with a solemn attitude. "We need to talk about Daphne," she stated softly. Carter initially brushed it off, thinking jealousy. But Katie persevered, disclosing what she had discovered: Daphne's relationship with Steffi, the seduction plot, and the plan to undermine his partnership with Hope and recapture the company. She played a taped discussion, Daphne's voice clear as she informed Steffi that Carter was hooked. Carter's face became pale. Betrayal struck him like a tidal wave. He replayed every moment in his mind, the kisses, confessions, and promises, wondering what had been genuine. Carter was furious and drove straight to Daphne's apartment. She answered the door, astonished by his unexpected arrival, her grin vanishing at his thundering look. "Tell me it's not true," he insisted, his voice breaking. Daphne's eyes welled up with tears, and she couldn't continue to lie. She collapsed into the couch and revealed everything: Steffi's recruitment, the first lie, and how it began as a job but evolved into something more genuine. "I fell in love with you, Carter. Truly. That's why I've been pulling away. I couldn't keep hurting you." Carter paced, rage clashing with sadness. He felt betrayed, his confidence broken not only by Daphne but also by Steffi, whom he had previously considered family. "How could you?" he exclaimed. "All those nights, those words, were they part of the act?" Daphne begged, reaching for him, but he backed away. Despite the wrath, skepticism lingered. Her emotions were genuine, her remorse evident. Had she actually changed, or was this just another form of manipulation? The altercation continued into the night, with voices echoing throughout the flat. Carter sought details on every encounter with Steffi and every calculated move. Daphne revealed everything, hoping that honesty would save anything. By morning, fatigue had set in. Carter refused to forgive, but he also refused to walk away. "I need time," he explained, his voice scratchy. "But if there's any truth to what you're feeling now." Word immediately spread in their little community. Hope learned from Katie, feeling vindicated while sympathizing with Carter's grief. Steffi terrified when Daphne called, frantic, and revealed the expose. "He knows everything," Daphne exclaimed. Steffi's strategy backfired catastrophically. Rather than hurting Carter, it rallied him against her involvement. In the aftermath, Forrester Creations was buzzing with anxiety. Carter approached Steffi at the Cliff home, with Ridge serving as a reluctant mediator. "You used her to spy on me? To break me?" Carter alleged. Steffi justified herself, claiming it was for the family legacy, but her demeanor deteriorated. Ridge, split between daughter and friend, sought reconciliation, but relationships moved. Daphne, overcome with shame, considered returning to Paris. Carter, however, returned to her after a few days of introspection. The revelation had broken down illusions, imposing stark honesty. "I can't forget what you did," he confessed during a rainy encounter on the beach. "But I believe you when you say your feelings changed. Maybe we can start over. For real this time." Their reconciliation was tentative, based on honesty rather than deception. Daphne separated herself from Steffi, focusing on her work and demonstrating her commitment to Carter. The scent line flourished, representing new beginnings. Hope went on, exploring residual feelings for Liam, while Steffi dealt with the ramifications of her scheme. Months later, on a business trip to Paris, Carter proposed to Daphne beneath the Eiffel Tower, a reference to her background and their complex beginnings. She accepted, tears of excitement replacing regret. Their wedding was a highlight, merging Forrester glamour with French elegance, but not without drama. Steffi's hesitant attendance, Hope's polite well-wishes, and rumors of past betrayals. Carter's discovery of Daphne's true identity, that she was Steffi's secret weapon, had the potential to bring everything to an end. Instead, it built something stronger, a love tested by fire that emerged sturdy. In the ever-changing world of fashion, emotions, and family feuds, they discovered a rare authenticity. Under Carter's guidance, Forrester creations thrived, and Daphne's scents captivated the globe, demonstrating that the biggest discovery can lead to unexpected peace rather than devastation. As the couple exchanged vows in front of loved ones, Carter whispered, "No more secrets." Daphne smiled, "Only truths from now on." And in that moment, amid the flash of cameras and the rustle of couture gowns, they embarked on a future free of schemes, a bold, beautiful love story rewritten from the ashes of deception. The consequences spread throughout the households. Steffi reflected on her behavior, making amends where possible while strengthening relationships with Finn and her children. Hope accepted single life, focusing on her line and personal development. Ridge and Brooke navigated the drama, and their reunion was strengthened by their shared struggles. Daphne's incorporation into the Forrester-Logan-Spencer web introduced new dynamics, mentoring young designers, occasionally disagreeing with Brooke on creative ideals, but ultimately enriching the legacy. Carter, wiser from the treachery, led with even more determination, guaranteeing that no one could undermine the firm again. Years later, fans would remember the Daphne Rose narrative as one of the most twist-filled arcs, a mole turned true love, a scheme gone awry, and a discovery that changed everything. It highlighted the show's persistent theme, the intricacy of love in the midst of power battles, where the truth, no matter how painful, leads the way for redemption. Carter and Daphne would chuckle in quiet moments about how it all started with a planned seduction and ended with true love. "You were supposed to destroy me," he'd joke. "Instead, you saved me," she would respond. As a result, their story became legendary in the hallways of Forrester Creations, serving as a testimony to forgiveness, progress, and the unexpected nature of the heart. Carter had always believed that the truth, no matter how cleverly concealed, had a certain weight. It bent the air around it, yanked on consciousness, and begged to be recognized. For weeks, he had felt a tug every time Daphne entered the room. There was something about her presence that never quite fit with the story she told the world. She was polished, composed, and almost too well assembled, like a photograph that had been over-retouched. At first, he disregarded the feeling as instinct honed by years of legal practice and corporate manipulation. Carter knew that instincts were rarely wrong. It started with little discrepancies. Daphne would mention situations she claimed to have learned about secondhand, but her details were too accurate and emotionally intense. She reacted to names and locations as if they contained personal history rather than professional significance. When questioned, she handled the situation with charm and intelligence, changing conversations before anybody could dig deeper. Most individuals readily accepted her explanations. Carter did not. Carter found himself alone in his office at Forrester Creations late one evening, when the corridors were silent and the city lights shone through the glass walls, with paperwork sprawled across his desk. What began as ordinary legal study has turned into something more personal. Daphne's background check, originally sought for corporate due diligence, revealed strange gaps. Years went unaccounted for, references led nowhere, and the past appeared to have been carefully curated. He leaned back in his chair and rubbed his temples. This wasn't simply about company policies anymore. He felt responsible not just to the corporation, but also to the people who had put their trust in him. And if he was truthful with himself, with Daphne as well, whatever she was hiding had cost her money to keep it hidden. The next day, Carter scheduled a meeting under the guise of discussing a new legal strategy. Daphne arrived on schedule, dressed nicely, her face calm but vigilant. As she took a seat across from him, he observed a flicker of strain in her eyes, which was swiftly replaced with a professional grin. They talked for a time about business, contracts, and potential hazards, but the conversation felt hollow, like a dance they both knew would lead somewhere else. Carter finally closed the folder in front of him and folded his hands. "There's something we should talk about," he added quietly. Daphne's smile wavered briefly. "Of course." "What is it?" Carter selected his words carefully. "Your background. There are contradictions. Gaps. Things that don't add up." The silence between them was thick and expectant. Daphne's stance stiffened, and her fingers tightened on the chair's edge. Carter briefly considered denying everything and deflecting, as she had done in the past. Instead, she took a long breath, as if to prepare herself. "I wondered when this would happen," she remarked quietly. The admission took him off guard. "So, you understand what I'm saying?" "Yes," she responded. "I've always known it couldn't stay hidden forever." Carter leaned forward, his tone kind but forceful. "Daphne, who are you really?" Her attention shifted to the window and the wide city beyond. When she spoke again, her voice was full with vulnerability, which he had never heard before. She informed him about her history, the identity she had left behind, and why she had recreated herself. It was not a story of malice or manipulation for personal benefit, but of survival, regret, and a desperate need for a new beginning. Carter began to question his assumptions as the story progressed. Daphne was not the calculating fake he had imagined. She had been forced to make tough decisions, and she had paid a high price for previous blunders. The names she gave, the life she described, were tied to events Carter was all too familiar with, threads sewn deep into the fabric of the Forrester and Logan families. "So, you see," Daphne said, her gaze returning to his. "Coming here wasn't about deception. It was about redemption." Carter sat back, taking in her confession. He finally understood why she reacted the way she did to certain individuals and conversations. Her past was more than just personal. It was inextricably linked to the present in ways that, if revealed, could destabilize everything. "You realize what this means," he added. "If others find out." "I know," she replied. "And I am prepared for the repercussions. I just didn't want them to arrive before I had a chance to make things right." The room felt electric, with unsaid questions hanging in the air. Carter was caught between his obligation to the truth and his compassion for the woman seated across from him. He had dedicated his career respecting standards and promoting transparency and accountability. Yet here he was, confronted with a reality that threatened to destroy lives, including Daphne's. "What are you going to do?" he asked. Daphne hesitated. "I do not know. I was hoping maybe you could help me figure that out." He was greatly moved by her vulnerability. He recognized that this moment would shape not only Daphne's destiny, but also his own integrity. After a lengthy time, he nodded. "I won't expose you," he said. "Not yet. But we need to be cautious. And be honest with each other, at least." Relief rushed over Daphne's face, mixed with thankfulness and terror. "Thank you," she muttered. "You have no idea what this means to me." But secrets, Carter knew, had a way of coming out, no matter how carefully hidden. As time passed, he found himself studying Daphne more intently, not with suspicion, but with concern. He noticed how her defenses began to thin around him, allowing glimpses of the person she truly was. Their conversations became more personal, imbued with an intimacy born of mutual awareness. Meanwhile, rumors of Daphne's secret identity began to circulate. Subtle signs arose during chats among the Forrester family. Someone spoke a familiar name from the past, an unsolved enigma that had never really faded. Each time, Daphne froze, her gaze drawn to Carter, silently wondering if this was the moment all would collapse. Carter felt the pressure increasing. He was now involved in her deception, whether he liked it or not. Every day, he assessed the potential consequences, thinking about who might be wounded and who deserved to know. His logical mind devised possibilities, but his heart confused every calculation. The turning point occurred unexpectedly. A serendipitous encounter, a face from Daphne's past walks through the doors of Forrester Creations. Carter noticed the color draining from her face before she could cover it. In that moment, he realized the secret was on borrowed time. Later that day, Daphne sought him out, her anxiety hardly restrained. "They know," she replied. "Or they will. I can feel it." Carter closed his office door, his face determined. "Then we stopped running. We have control over how the truth is revealed." They planned together. Not a big announcement, but a calm confession made to those most affected. Daphne would confront them, accept her past, and explain her motivations. It was hazardous, but it was straightforward. When the moment arrived, emotions were intense. As Daphne spoke, the audience was filled with shock, fury, and disbelief. Some felt deceived, while others were split between old scars and a new understanding. Carter stood by her side, providing quiet support and answering questions as he could, grounding the tumult in calm reason. Not everyone was prepared to forgive. Accusations flew, tears flowed, and long-buried resentments erupted. But there was also something else, something surprising: empathy. Daphne's boldness in revealing her true identity prompted everyone to confront their own pasts and faults. In the aftermath, relationships were permanently altered. Some bridges were burnt, while others were temporarily reconstructed. Daphne faced consequences she had always expected, but she was no longer alone in dealing with them. Carter's belief in reality had been shaken, molded by compassion and nuance. Life at Forrester Creations gradually returned to normal. The scandal was over, the rumors subsided, and Daphne began the painstaking process of reconstructing her life, this time without hiding. Carter watched her with calm pride, knowing that the discovery, while terrible, had set her free. Carter was deeply affected by his encounter. He discovered that the truth was not necessarily a weapon but could also serve as a bridge. In uncovering Daphne's true identity, he also discovered something about himself, a greater vision of justice that balanced law and humanity. Secrets eventually lost their power. What remained were choices, consequences, and the tenuous hope that, even in a world defined by scandal and betrayal, redemption was possible for those bold enough to confront their true nature.